The most successful luxury agents follow a predictable and consistent listing process that we will now talk about. When working to list a luxury home, it is important to set proper expectations with the seller right from the initial interaction. The first step is extremely important as it sets the tone for the rest of the transaction and allows you to demonstrate your confidence and command of the home selling process. In the first phone conversation with a potential seller, there's a mandatory 7-question intake process. This is to establish why they are moving, what their motivation level is, and what they are looking for in a listing agent. If the listing inquiry comes in via email or message, the intake questions will happen when you call them back on the phone. It's important that you talk to the seller in person and hear their responses. Their inflections and tonality will be your first impression of their personality. There will be times, even at the luxury level, where people will try to schedule a listing appointment via email or message. Make sure to have a phone call with the seller and complete the intake questions before going to a listing appointment. This is very important as it makes it so you maintain the process, not the other person. Even if the seller is someone you have met, have known in the past, or is a warm referral, you need to talk to them in person before going to the property. On the phone call, ask how they learned about you and other introductory questions to build a foundation of trust. The purpose here is to pick up on nuances of their personality, along with gauging their intentions. Stay focused on the other person and what they are saying. Refrain from selling your services at this point, and no bragging or going off on tangents. Remember and follow the 10 practices for a perfect conversation. Your purpose is to take notes and see if this feels like a good fit for both sides. It's a best practice to type the intake questions or have them on a place in your phone so they are easily accessible. And remember, all of this is done in a conversational style. It should not feel like an interview. This is another reason why it is always important to carry a pen and note card with you. You never know when a phone call might be a potential seller, and you will want to take notes. Here are the exact questions to ask. Number 1, why are you selling? Number 2, when do you need to move? Number 3, what does your transition look like? Number 4, what do you like most about your home? Number 5, have you done any updates since you bought it? Number 6, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would a buyer rate the condition, with 10 being a new construction home of the same size? Number 7, what are you looking for in a listing agent? What's the most important trait? Once the seller has answered the last question, schedule the listing appointment time and location. These 7 questions work perfectly because the conversation does not drag on where the seller gets annoyed, and you'll have sufficient information to plan your approach with the listing. The first 3 questions on the intake give you an idea of the seller's motivation. If they do not give solid responses, they may not be highly motivated. The ones who are know exactly why they want to move and most always have a transition plan in place before reaching out to a listing agent. Be cautious of the "we don't have to sell" or "we'll figure out the transition once we find a buyer" responses. You want to invest in sellers who have an urgency, a specific reason or destination that they can verbalize. Questions 4, 5, and 6 will give you information on what to focus on when you see the home in person, and they open the seller to elaborating on the best features of their home. They will usually talk for a couple of minutes about what they like about their home and the lifestyle they have enjoyed. The scale of 1 to 10 question will provide a subjective answer. However, it does work to frame the seller's perceptions. For example, the seller says, "Our house is a 10. The only thing holding it back is we never put in the pool." Or, "The house is a 7.5. The yard and the view is a 10 plus." Additionally, this question will determine if the seller is living in a current reality. If they tell you 9.8, and you can tell from Google Earth this is not the case, there may be a wide gap to bridge later in the listing process. The last question is very revealing, so don't neglect to ask it. In fact, don't neglect to ask any questions in this process and to keep your questions in the same order. The reason it is called a process is because the questions are a series of precepts that are built upon one another that lead to a formulated outcome. The last question is, what are you looking for in a listing agent? Listen carefully to what they say, as this will become the way in which you approach them at the listing appointment. For example, they may say, someone who knows how to sell an X kind of home, or someone who is a strong negotiator, or someone who's 100% hands-on and can show the home when we are not there. Think back to the lesson on great questions. The answers are there if you ask the right questions. If the seller does not respond with an answer that alludes to results, selling the home, or getting the job done, they may not be highly motivated. There will be times when the seller will reveal that they have already chosen you in their mind, and the listing appointment is only a formality. For example, when you ask, what are they looking for in an agent? They may say, someone like you who sells a lot of homes in this price range, or an agent with experience in X kind of home, like the one you sold on XYZ Street last summer. The principle here is the 7-question intake process is invaluable in setting the proper expectations with a potential seller at the very first interaction. This will demonstrate that you are a proven luxury agent with systems and processes that lead a client to success. The last step in the phone call is setting the listing appointment time and address and communicating what happens next. In luxury real estate, because of the specialized nature of the properties involved, this is done through a 2-step listing appointment. Before arriving at the scheduled listing appointment, there's another mandatory step. It's the pre-listing marketing package. This sets the stage for a productive listing appointment as it defines expectations and outlines how you market luxury homes. There's no need to waste time at an actual listing appointment presenting your marketing and sales systems. Any face-to-face time should be used for determining why now is the time to sell, any specific questions on the local market, the steps of accepting an offer, listing preparation, listing timelines, and the introduction to the pricing strategy. A pre-listing marketing package will have a 1 or 2-page outline of the listing process, a cover letter with your value statement, and bullet points of your experience and results. Also, include a biography, sample of your marketing brochures, and previously sold homes. You can include information on your brokerage and the specific benefits they provide. All of this should be put in a presentation folder with your branding on it. You can order these at Vistaprint.com or Zazzle.com. In advance of the listing appointment, have the pre-listing marketing package delivered by USPS Priority Mail, UPS Next Day, or FedEx. If you are comfortable, you can deliver it in person to their front porch. However, this is a case-by-case basis, as some people live in secured buildings, behind gates, or have front door security cameras. After the pre-listing marketing package has been sent, the next step is the in-person listing appointment. This is where you will collect information on both the property and the mindset of the seller. Of course, there will be opportunities to differentiate yourself from the competition and present your superior value proposition. You will get confirmation that your intake process and pre-marketing package worked flawlessly when the seller thanks you for the great information or the great marketing package. This usually always happens, and it's an affirmation that your process and effort are appreciated. There will be times when moments after the initial introduction, the sellers will want to jump right into a specific topic. Maybe it's pricing, market timing, how fast or slow luxury homes are selling, or even provide you with a printout of similar properties they have found on Zillow. Properties that they feel establish a precedent for their home. There is nothing wrong when this happens, other than it may disrupt your flow of the initial greeting. And it's completely fine. The seller's excited and in some cases, more nervous than you. Many luxury agents have experiences where sellers feel they know exactly what their home is worth. They will hand you a spreadsheet of similar characteristic homes that average out to a certain price per square foot. They will say, If X home sold for $500 a foot, that makes ours $2.3 million. Now, this may or may not be true. It's too early in the listing process for you to establish this. The influential conversation for this lesson is everyone has access to the data. It's how you use it that positions you as an expert. This is a statement that works well with sellers. What it means is there are many factors that go into determining the fair market value of a home. When you find other homes that have sold with similar characteristics, those same factors may or may not be applicable to the seller's home. In every property valuation, there is an art and an intelligence to pricing. Having the data is only the intelligence element. The art is knowing what features buyers are looking for, what, if any, are the critical flaws of the property, what is the current buyer demand as of when the seller wants to list the home, and a handful of other considerations. Valuation is a multifaceted approach with many constantly changing variables. Relevant properties that have sold is only one of the variables. Again, everyone has access to the data. It's how you understand it that positions you as an expert. This works exceptionally well with sellers to make a point. However, it can be used for both buyers and sellers, or whenever you feel someone is using publicly available or limited scope information to reach a conclusion without considering all elements of the bigger picture. Let's do this.